Lightning round, 30 communication tips to help you supersize your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. We're going to do a Q&A today, but I've got to hop on a plane. So instead, we are doing, and I'm sharing 30 plus tips in a really quick fashion that can help you improve your communication, which in turn helps you to grow and build and supersize your business. Let's grab a magnifying glass and see what we've got here today. I did a different list of 25 for the Be a Better You Annual Challenge. So if you want to see that list or hear that list, go ahead and check out that video today. If you need a link, ask, and I will put it in the comments below after I get off the plane. So, number one, active listening. We've talked about this, and we will talk about this all year long, and as long as I'm talking, probably, because it's such a critical communication skill. Reflective listening. Well, what's the difference between active and reflective? Active is being present, right? And really paying attention, to me anyway, and reflective means I'm hearing you, I'm listening, I'm being present and active listening, and then I'm reflecting back to what I think you're saying, as well as sometimes what I'm thinking that you might be feeling. I want to test the waters and make sure that I am getting the message in the way you mean to send it, your intent. Number three, nonverbal cues awareness. Are you aware of people's nonverbal cues? If they're looking around, which I got wonky eyes, so my eyes are looking around all the time, but other people, if they're looking off into the distance when you're talking to them, they are clearly not paying attention. Number four, silence as a tool. We actually talked about that one this month because it's such a powerful tool to just listen and pause. And sometimes take a deep breath and know that you don't have to respond as soon as somebody stops talking. You know, they don't even have the last word out of your mouth and you're already responding. That means you weren't active listening. Number five, asking clarifying questions. How do you know if you got it right if you don't ask questions for clarification? Number six, open-ended questions. Instead of asking yes or no questions, you can ask some of those depending on what the conversation is, but make sure that you're asking open-ended questions to get more information. Number seven, summarize what you hear for clarity. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had in my lifetime, literally probably millions, where I thought somebody said something and they said something totally different, which has a huge impact on my response to them or my not response, right? Number eight, assertive speaking. Number nine, means speaking in a direct, assertive way. Number nine, use I statement technique, where you say, I feel unheard when ideas are dismissed at meetings, but say, I feel blank when something happens, instead of accusing people of certain things, or not listening to you, or not paying attention to you, or not treating you with respect because they don't listen to your ideas. Number 10, tone modulation, meaning don't always speak in the same tone of voice. I don't speak in the same tone of voice when my granddaughters are going to do something dangerous as when I'm just talking to them or reading them a book or we're having a quiet conversation or we're cooking, etc. Number 11, mirroring language. Some of these nonverbal things, this is a whole section. I was going to do a 35-day communication challenge, which if you'd like that, we could do that. I would love to do a 35-day challenge specifically on communication, to use a different tool, a different strategy every day, and then practice that and kind of workshop it. I think that'd be a fun challenge. And I think it would be beneficial to me and everybody else that ever has to communicate. So this is one of those, mirroring language. When you adopt the other person's language and repeat it back to them and mirror it, it's just like mirroring their nonverbals. If you carry it too far, if you're not authentic with it, people can and will get offended and shut down the conversation immediately. I've seen this happen in negotiations. Negotiations gone wrong. I could do a whole clip on that. That'd be funny. Number 12, eliminate filler words. I say a lot. I say and a lot. I know that one of the areas that I can improve in my speaking and in conversations in general is to get rid of those filler words. So I might take a page out of Shannon's book and make a concerted effort to remove those filler words from my conversations. It's interesting. I've been doing some sharing with the transcript of my videos, and you never realize how often you use those filler words until you see it written out in a transcript. It's quite interesting. Number 13, use storytelling for engagement. Stories sell, stories tell. People remember stories. There's a reason the whole Bible is made up of stories, right? It's because people remember them. So use storytelling. Number 14, brevity and conciseness. Be clear, concise, and short. If you can say it in 2 sentences, say it in 2 sentences. If it takes 5 minutes, then it takes 5 minutes, but make sure you're being clear and concise. Number 15, emotional labeling. When we call something and label something, it helps to verify whether we're being clear or not. So if you say, it sounds like you're really frustrated about this right now, you're labeling what you're hearing and seeing and thinking the person's feeling as frustration. If they're not frustrated, they'll say, no, I'm really PO'd right now about this. I'm not frustrated. I'm mad because this is what's happening. Number 16, de-escalation techniques. These are incredibly powerful. I don't know about you, but every once in a while I find myself in a chaotic, crazy situation. And we need to have strategies and techniques to de-escalate the conversation. This happens in negotiations a lot, including negotiations with granddaughters. Number 17, managing defensive responses. Now, I'm a very defensive person, so this is one that I practice quite often. It's important to say, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate the feedback. How can I improve? Or tell me more, etc., so that you can understand where they're coming from instead of getting defensive. We all are imperfect human beings, and we run imperfect businesses. And part of how we get better is by getting feedback, right? And keep in mind, feedback is just one other person's opinion usually. And so take it as it's meant. If it's meant with, to help you, then learn from it. 18, finding common ground. Again, a negotiation thing. If we find common ground and we start there, we're going to get a better result than in any situation than if we are looking for differences. Because there's differences between all of us, but there's also common ground and similarities between all of us as humans and our businesses, etc. 19, agreeing to disagree. Guess what? Sometimes you just agree that you get your opinion, I get mine, and it doesn't matter, right? All of this bickering over politics and people's positioning, and I get sucked into it sometimes, I will admit it. It doesn't matter because we're not going to change anybody's mind. The only person that can change your mind is you. The only person who can change their mind is them. We can't do it for them. And we don't even want to, really. Do we want everybody to think alike? Absolutely not. So agree to disagree. 20, redirecting negative conversations. This is a real biggie. If you hear people gossiping at the water cooler or gossiping anywhere, do you participate in the gossip? That says a lot about you. Or do you redirect the conversation and say, well, how are you doing? What's up with you? What's new with you? And find a way to get off that conversation. I learned a long time ago, people will always talk about you, but it doesn't mean you talk about other people. Never works out well, right? Because if you talk about somebody to somebody else, then they are just going to automatically assume, whether you do it or not, that you're talking about them to other people as well. 21, apologizing effectively. You know what? I see that my words hurt you and hurt your feelings. That wasn't my intention, but I'm really sorry because I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Sincere apologies go a long way in improving our communication. 22, email etiquette. This is, I could do a whole day seminar on this one because I find it incredible that people will write down in email something that they would never say to your face. And that has always been my guideline and my rule of thumb. If I wouldn't tell you this to your face, I would never include it in an email or a text message, etc. So yes, some of my snide comments on social media, I mean them. I would tell you that to your face. Just so you know. 23, professionalism in texting. They recommend that you avoid abbreviations, but I don't know how you get around it. I think that abbreviations like AF lead to misunderstandings, and sometimes you think that they're a joke, but over text and written communication, it doesn't translate all the time, so be careful with that. 24, proper video call presence. Make sure when you're on a video call, you're actually as present as when you're with the person. People can tell if you're multitasking or not paying attention on a video call, even more so than when they're in person sometimes. 25, voice message clarity. Make sure that you are, when you're leaving voice messages, that you leave a clear, concise, brief message. And, it's usually just, hey, this is so-and-so, I'm calling because of this. Can you give me a quick call back or something, right? It doesn't have to be a big, old, long voice message. Setting communication boundaries. This is a good one. And one I had to learn the hard way. If you don't set boundaries and communicate what your boundaries are, people will always think that you don't have any and do whatever they want and what works for them. I've had bosses in the past that would would call at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I'm usually up, but most people aren't. So keep in mind that we need to set those boundaries because for our sanity and for our lack, so we don't burn out, etc. 27, managing interruptions. You know, this is another one. Love an open door policy like in corporate America, but sometimes you have to close your door to get work done. That has been my experience. So let people know and ask people. If you're calling somebody, hey, is this a good time to chat with you because I just have a quick question, or I need 5 minutes of your time. Do you have 5 minutes, or when would be a good time to talk to you for 5 minutes? But manage interruptions, because otherwise your efficiency and your effectiveness just tanks. So say, you know, between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that is my work time, go time. If you can avoid it, can you get to me before or after that time? Set those boundaries, set those expectations, and help yourself manage interruptions. People usually won't get offended if you say, listen, I'm in the middle of something right now, but I can get back to you at X time, or come back and see me at this time. 28, written versus spoken clarity. I think when we are writing and in our written communication, since we're not one-on-one getting immediate feedback and having an actual conversation, we need to be even more clear and spell out the detailed instructions of and our detailed expectations. Or there's just opportunities for communication errors and failures and disappointments, etc. So 29, the rule of 3 in persuasion. And this is one I need to use more. I forget to use it. But when you want to share something with somebody, share 3 main points about that. Don't share 100. Don't share 30 plus. Just share 3. So I should have just said, hey, here's the top 3 communication skills that you should use to supersize for your business. Maybe that'll be a post in the future. Building rapport quickly. To build rapport quickly, you look for common ground. You look for common interests, right? The first thing you do when you go into an interview is you look around someone's office and you see something that you can relate to and you comment on that, right? Because it builds common ground. You do the same thing when somebody comes into your office, right? You look for common ground. 31, knowing when to be quiet. We've talked about that. 32, the power of compliments. People love compliments. I don't care who they are, how gruff they are, how stern they might seem. Sincerely compliment someone because that helps to build common ground, right? People like to know that you like their tie or their dress or their haircut, right? 33, express gratitude. This is, of course, one of my favorites. I talk about it a lot. Really appreciate and thank people for the things that you appreciate about them. That is also a sincere compliment, by the way. 34, adapting to different communication styles. Now, I talk really fast, right? I try to slow it down sometimes. I tend to be a little loud and a little fast all the time, but I can slow it down depending on my audience. So adapt to different communication styles depending on who you're talking to, your audience, of course. And if you're talking to a really soft-spoken person, don't come in like gangbusters because you'll intimidate them and it will make your communication more challenging and difficult. And finally, practice self-reflection, right? Pay attention to how people are responding to you and adapt your behavior accordingly, right? That's it. I wanted to run through those quickly. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I challenge you to practice one of those today and see if it doesn't make a difference in your communication effectiveness and help you build and grow and supersize your business. Have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow. Bye. We're switching gears tomorrow.